line the inside of that and then squeeze it on it. Good morning, guys. It's another great day here at Parker Performance, and today we've got something cool for you. We have a GT that is getting a blower install done. So we are doing a Magnuson blower on this, which interestingly enough is from an S197, but it was on an S550 when we removed it, so we'll be putting it back on an S550. So as you can see, it's just a bolt-on Coyote currently, and it's in really good shape. It's got some really nice mods. It's got a set of Brembos on it. It's got the full treatment of suspension, Coney yellows, sway bars, Steeda cradle lockouts, the whole 9 yards. Very clean car. It's got a little lip spoiler here. It's got the rear diffuser, set of Velgans. Super nice car. So we are getting ready to install Boost. Check it out. So that's the Magnuson blower that the Supercharger that Livernois offers and sells, and this is the heat exchanger with the pump and reservoir. So we are getting ready to throw down on that. I don't really know what else to say. Oh, I know what else. Got NGK iridiums to go in it, which we'll double check the gap on to make sure, because I'm assuming that they weren't bought gapped. And we're also going to be installing these Stainless Works cats in the long tube headers. We started on this yesterday, and by started I mean literally just got it pulled in and took the strut bar off and the engine cover off. We had another car in yesterday and had to get that done, and had some other stuff to get wrapped up here in the shop and with my family. So today is the first day we're actually going to be jumping in and getting rocking and rolling on this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and start by getting the intake manifold off and diving into the fuel rails and getting all that stuff removed. And then we'll start setting everything up for the blower. So stay tuned. Can you red handle me? I'll hold it. Ah, yeah. And then 1, 2.
Look at all that oil on them.
Got it! Okay, so we've been working for, I don't know, about an hour-ish, hour and 15-ish. And we have got the factory intake manifold off. We've got all the little ancillary lines and stuff moved and or capped. All of those lines on the back wall there were the hardest part of the install so far. And that's because there's like 2 plugs on the top side, and then these white clips that you can see right there. Those were attached to the back of the intake manifold right up against the firewall. So you have to loosen all the bolts on the intake manifold, pull the intake manifold up, and then sneak your hands up through the back. So right now, Zach is going through and cleaning the tops of the intake ports with some isopropyl rubbing alcohol. We've already vacuumed out all of the dirt that was there, and we're just prepping, getting everything ready. We've got our table here with all of the removed parts so that we can inventory them and make sure that we have everything in place that we need. This is the stuff that will primarily be reused. This is stuff that won't be reused. So anyway, that's where we're at for now, guys. All right, so just a little update where we're at. People bring us their cars and forget to tell us the whole truth, you know? I don't think it's intentional necessarily as much as it's just forgetting, or, you know, sometimes it's embarrassment. People are, you know, ashamed that something's broken and whatever. Anyway, the problem we have is this is the bumper, and to get the intercooler and stuff in, you gotta take the bumper off and do all the install underneath, and there are no clips. They had this, just some kind of black epoxy filled in the back there to secure the bumper. So a little bit of a setback for us, a little bit of a delay, and the customer had complained about the vehicle making some noise, and on the front end and the rear end. So I drove it, and I only noticed the noise on the front end when I was pulling out of my driveway. And if you see the length of this APR splitter, we usually flush them right up against this little lip right here. This piece would be just ever so slightly sticking out because this is the outermost piece. So when you flush this up against here, this sticks out maybe an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch, like some minor amount. The issue with it sticking out this far is that when the wheel is full clocked all the way, you know, one way or the other, it's actually hitting the splitter. So I only noted that noise when the wheels were full clocked like this, and we did test it, and it does hit it. So the problem is that splitter is sitting, you know, like right back like here somewhere, and so at full clock it's touching it. So between the clips being torn up and finding that in the front, just a little bit of a delay, but we are still rocking and rolling. Zach and I just took a quick break, had to order some parts for a couple customers, had a couple online orders, and we threw a little pizza down the gullet, and the kids are out here enjoying the pool, having a good time, enjoying their summer. Say what's up. Hi. So the girls are having a good time. We're almost ready. We've got the accessory belt off, we've got the intake off, and the ports are cleaned and covered. We've got the wiring rerouted here. We've got the bumper off. Now we're gonna get started on installing the intercooler and such.
What Alex say earlier when she was in the pool?
I don't know.
Oh, she's like, I don't want to kill Earth. And I'm like, that's your God at work, bitch.
She's like, I don't want to kill nature. Got not enough tightness here. Maybe we pull that foam that we didn't use and line the inside of that and then squeeze it on it. You know what I mean? I'll grab it. We've got the throttle body on the blower. We've got the bypass hose placed. Sensors in. The coolant lines are starting to be buttoned up here. Those are ready to rock and get installed. You can't see it, but the gaskets are under there. We cleaned everything, put the gaskets in. This is coming along pretty well. As I showed you guys earlier, I had to reroute some wires here. Those are in place and tucked. The wiring here for the fuse, for the intercooler pump, that's all wired and tucked and ran and hidden. I've got it kind of tucked away and hidden into some wire loom, and then runs down here, and everything is tucked nicely. And we've got our ground coming in to there. We've got the wiring harness for, oh, there's Diesel and Sanders. Hey boys. We've got the wiring harness here that goes around and down and in. And forgive me while I get down underneath here. And comes up and in to our intercooler pump, which we've got mounted here to the cross frame there. Then we've got our routing of the intercooler plumbing to there, to the heat exchanger. We've just got to run one more heat exchanger line, which that's going to go back up into the engine bay. And then we've got to set the blower in place. And so this is the reservoir here for the coolant. So this one will actually come from the back of the blower and go into there. And then there's that secondary line, which is the really long line off the back of the blower that goes into the bottom of the heat exchanger over there. So making really good progress. We're getting there. All right, guys. So we're just kind of at the point where I'm making sure we have everything together to get ready to drop the blower in. And one of the last things that we're going to be doing here is we're going to be prepping the factory fuel rails with the upgraded fuel injectors that came with the Supercharger kit. And I figured it was a good time for Alex and I to stop and actually do a little video on this part. I wanted to show you guys the comparison here. This is the upgraded injector here. This is the factory injector. You can see the plugs are the same, the tops are the same, looks like the O-ring columns are the same, everything's the same, but until you stand them up next to each other height-wise. The upgraded injector is, you know, I don't know, I guess that's about 3/4 of an inch short. So what you have from the upgraded injector is you have this spacer. Now this spacer, a couple of things about it is, one, if you go to put it on like this, you'll notice there's no O-ring on the top, and you're like, oh, well, there's an O-ring here. Well, that's going to be an issue. You have to have an O-ring here to push this plunger down over top of it, and then this will slide into place. So what we're going to do is I've pre-assembled 3 of these already with the O-rings in place and the upper extenders already in place. So those are going to be going in. These are the factory injectors I wanted to use for comparison. Now I've already pulled all the clips off, but I left one so that I could show you guys here on video. The factory injectors are held in with this metal retainer clip. You literally just have to kind of take your finger and push on both sides at the same time. And it's just going to pop off. It's a little simple clip, right? You'll see I've got a old rag here. This is actually our fuel rag. Specifically keep it for fuel. We do enough with fuel sensors and stuff like that for the EcoBoost that we're always coming across fuel. So anyway, this rail, even though I've got it capped and even though it's off the car, still has residual fuel in it. So when you pull these injectors, you're going to get some residual leaking. So all you need to do is just like that, and you saw obviously what I meant by residual fuel coming out. Now you want to take this factory O-ring and you want to remove it from the factory injector. You're going to replace that there on the aftermarket injector, slide your plunger in place. Now the difference here is you use that retaining clip actually on there. So now the retaining clip is actually holding the spacer to the injector, and then you need to obviously secure that back in to the factory location. So a little different, just figured it was good. It was good content for you guys. It's good Q&A. We see a lot of people asking questions about different things on installs, and figured this would probably be one that would come up. Hey, I bought aftermarket injectors, they don't fit, you know. So you got to make sure that when you get the aftermarket injector that you've got the spacer, and you've got to make sure that if it doesn't come with O-rings for those, that you're taking the O-rings off of your factory injector, using it on the top side there, putting that in, and then just remember that your retaining clip is now going to be holding the spacer to the injector. And then what's going to happen is the injectors will go down in, right, and then you'll actually still use your bolts here to secure the fuel rails to the vehicle, which, you know, they go in Yahtzee like that. That pressure from those is going to be ample enough to keep that on top without the retaining clip on there. So anyway, guys, I thought that was a good break for us to film for you, and figured that would be some good info for you. So enjoy.
Next time on Parker Performance.
That's like quarter throttle.
Right. Replicate the way it was built on the factory side. So the first thing you're going to do, actually when you get it, you're going to have this retaining clip will be on here. You need